Chapter 6, the storm and the anchor. Some storms arrive like an insult hurled from the horizon, sudden, sharp, without warning. Others gather in the distance, darkening the sky hour by hour until you can no longer pretend they will pass you by. But whether the storm comes as a thief or a herald, the sea will ask you the same question. Have you set your anchor? We walk from the fireside agreements down toward the shore, where the air grows heavier and salt clings to our skin. The trees thin, the path bends, and then the sea lies before us, a restless sheet of silver beneath a bruised sky. Waves fold themselves against the black rocks, each one speaking the same low truth. The water does not care who you are. It will test you all the same. The shore, before the storm. An old vessel rests on the sand, its hull scored with lines like a face that has seen both joy and sorrow. Beside it stands a solitary figure, the keeper of the anchor. The coil of rope on their shoulder is as thick as their arm. The iron flukes of the anchor at their feet dark with age and salt. The keeper does not greet us at once. Their eyes are on the horizon, where the clouds are building, not yet near enough to frighten, but near enough to matter. You can't learn to anchor in calm seas, they say at last, their voice deep as the undertow. When the storm rises, you either know how to hold or you do not. The first tale, the lovers at sea. From the hidden records of the Great V, there's the tale of two lovers who set sail in a season of perfect weather. Their ship was small but sturdy, their sails catching the light as though spun from sea. They filled their days with laughter, their nights with the easy silence of those who believe nothing can touch them. One evening, without warning, the wind shifted. Clouds formed in the north like a wall of shadow. The sea darkened, its rhythm broken by waves that struck harder with each passing minute. The lovers shouted to each other over the roar, but their words were snatched away. One rushed to lower the sails, the other reached for the anchor. But without a plan, their efforts tangled. The anchor line twisted with the rigging, the sails caught the wind sideways, and the tiller snapped like a twig. They did not sink. The gods were kinder than they deserved. But when the storm passed, they found themselves in strange waters, far from any coast they knew. The calm returned, but so did the silence between them, no longer warm but weary. The anchor had been with them all along, but they had never agreed on how or when to set it. The second tale, the single sailor. Another time, a lone sailor prepared for a journey. For years, they had studied the sea's moods, the lift of wind before a gale, the way clouds thicken at the edges before they gather in the center. They knew the sound of an anchor line paying out, the weight of iron in their hands. When their storm came, it was fierce. 3 days of wind that screamed through the rigging, waves that rose like walls. But the sailor was ready. At the first true shift of wind, they dropped the sails, set the anchor deep into the seabed, and lashed the tiller. The boat swung, fought, and settled. Through the long nights, the sailor dozed in the bow, waking to check the line, hands finding the rope without looking. When the fourth dawn broke, the sea was calm again, the anchor unmarred. The sailor knew then that they could face any voyage. The third tale, the anchor unseen. There is also the story of a merchant who believed anchors were for the timid. They relied on speed, on reading the wind, on never letting themselves be caught. For years, they outran every storm, slipping into harbors just ahead of the worst. Then came the day when the sky closed in from all sides. No wind favored them, no harbor lay near. They had no anchor. When the first wave broke over the bow, they realized too late that the sea takes no pride in your cleverness. Without weight to hold them, they were carried until the currents decided where they would break. The anchor within. The keeper of the anchor speaks. In love, the anchor is not iron and rope. It is the agreement you make. with yourself, with another, before the wind turns. It is knowing how to pause in anger. It is deciding in calm how you will speak when the storm rises. It is the discipline to hold steady when the waves tempt you to cut loose and drift. For couples, the anchor is shared, but both must know where it is kept and how to use it. For singles, the anchor is inward, your own habits, your own rituals, your own grounding in times of change. The guardian's test. The keeper leads you to a small boat and sets you adrift just beyond the reef. At first, the sea is gentle, but slowly the wind shifts. A swell begins to lift and drop the bow. They do not tell you when to set the anchor. That is your test. To read the signs, to feel the change, to act before it is too late, but not before it is time. Drop it too soon, and you will never reach where you're going. Drop it too late, and the rocks will claim you. If you set it well, the rope will hum under the strain, but you will hold. The keeper will say nothing, but when you return to shore, they will nod once, and that will be enough. For those who walk alone, an anchor for the solitary heart may be a morning ritual that steadies your mind, a friend whose voice reminds you of who you are, a practice of stillness when the world urges you to hurry. For those who walk together, an anchor for the shared journey, maybe a pre-agreed pause word in arguments, a ritual for cooling tempers before speaking again, a joint decision about how to weather outside pressures without turning against each other. Practical reflections for today. Singles, write down your 3 anchors, habits or supports you can rely on in times of uncertainty. Couples, agree on your anchor now before the next disagreement and practice using it in small squalls so it will hold in the true storm. All, remember that the time to prepare is before the sky darkens. The keeper shoulders the rope once more, the iron of the anchor glinting faintly in the dim light. We move on from the shore, the crash of waves fading behind us. Ahead, the path bends into quiet green, a garden lush with flowers, tended by unseen hands. It is a place of growth for its own sake, where beauty blooms even when no one is watching. The garden of becoming awaits.